Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Today's chief guest, Honorable Commissioner Secretary, Department of Higher Education, Government of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Talat Parvez Rohela, Director Colleges, Higher Education Department, Jammu and Kashmir, Professor Yasin Ahmed Shah, Nodal Principal, GGM Science College, Professor Ravindra Kumar Tikku, Nodal Principal, Kashmir, Professor Yasmin Ashai, principals of various degree colleges of Jammu and Kashmir, resource persons, Dr. Harvard Rosana, full professor of Peace and Security Studies, Associate Dean, Graduate School, Malkan University, Philippines, Dr. Muhammad Tariqul Islam, Associate Professor, Government and Politics, Jahangir University, Bangladesh. He is also visiting scholar Oxford University. Dr. Dalit Kaur Randhawa, Associate Professor, Faculty of Law, University Technology Mara, Selangor, Darul Ihsan, Malaysia. Dr. Arul Murugan, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Pondicherry University, Karakai, Karakal Campus, India. Co-patent Dr. Parma Sivan, Chairman East, Tamilnadu. Co-patent Dr. Ashaf Raza, President, Attitude Change International, Darhal, Malkan, Jammu and Kashmir. Coordinator Dr. Imtiaz Hussain Shah, Assistant Professor, Government Degree College, Darhal, J&K. Faculty members, researchers, and all the participants, very warm welcome in this international webinar on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and COVID-19, organized by Government Degree College, Darhal, Jammu and Kashmir, in collaboration with East Tamilnadu and Attitude Change International, Darhal, Malkan, Rajouri, Jammu and Kashmir. It's a great opportunity provided to Government Degree College, Darhal by East and one NGO from Darhal, Malika. So far as the Government Degree College is concerned, Government Degree College, Darhal, it's at a distance of about 23 kilometers from Rajouri. And it's a tough terrain, not easy smooth road from Rajouri to Darhal. And it's a newly established college. The college established in just 2019. You can say just 1 year old college. And we got the rare opportunity of organizing one national quiz on mathematics and one national quiz on Urdu. And now international webinar, the golden opportunity provided to us along with the cooperation of other NGOs. The college noted it's working in a high secondary school at present. And we have got the 6 rooms renovated recently with almost 23 lakhs sanctioned by the government. And one more sanctioning is there in the form of 9.24 crores. And we will be getting shortly a building for our Government Degree College, Darhal. Already 1.0 crores has been sanctioned by the Department of Higher Education to prepare a prefabricated structure for Degree College, Darhal. So overall, we have almost 10 crores for the construction of building of Degree College, Darhal. No doubt, the number of students is not that large at present. It's almost 96 in first year, and now we will be getting almost the number may be increasing to 250 in this year. And so far as the number of girls students is concerned, the they are also in a better ratio. Earlier it was 56 and 39, that is 39 girls were there. And I think it's a golden opportunity provided by the Department of Higher Education to the residents of this area. And this was a genuine demand of the area because it was not feasible for the girls to move at a distance of 23 kilometers, and that too without very good road conditions, tough terrain. Around Government Degree College Rajouri is in the vicinity, but it is a distance of 23 kilometers, almost taking 1 hour and 15 minutes. And that too, with own vehicle, we can move through that area. And so far as the subjects we are running in that educational institution, it's only arts. But sooner we will be able to start the science team as well, because the moment we will be getting the construction of the new building, we will be able to go for this new this science team in that college. And now the residents of the area, it's a large population in that area. They are quite happy that they have got a higher education institution. And it's a very good opportunity provided by the Department of Higher Education that the education is going at the doorsteps. And major problem with the state of Jammu and Kashmir was that so far as the number of girls opting for higher education, that was not a large one. The ratio was not good for the girls. And now with the efforts of the Department of Higher Education, that ratio will be increasing. And more number of girls will be opting for this higher education. And I'm really thankful to the Commissioner Secretary Higher Education that he has started so many initiatives for the betterment of academic growth in this higher education in Jammu and Kashmir. And sooner we will be getting the results for the betterment of the education in state of in government in this Jammu and Kashmir. Now, organizing an international webinar by a government degree college that took established in 2019, that was not easy for us. The number of faculty members is not a large one. It's only 3 permanent faculty members in that educational institution, and others they are on academic arrangement basis. But these 2 NGOs they have cooperated us in organizing this international webinar. I will stress a little bit. I will say a few words regarding this international webinar on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and COVID-19. It's 2020, but the target was 2030. Target was 2030, and what was that target? 17 global goals for sustainable development were to be achieved by the United Nations in 2030. But the setback came from COVID-19. It was a huge setback. It has made all this quite difficult, COVID-19. But some bold steps has to be taken. And we have to prepare hard for attaining these sustainable goals. No doubt, so far as the goals are concerned, there are 17 number: no poverty, that's good; zero hunger, good health and well-being; quality education, goal number 4, quality education; gender equality, clean water and sanitation; affordable and clean energy; decent work and economic growth; industry, innovation and infrastructure; reduced inequalities; sustainable cities and communities; responsible consumption and production, very important; climate action; life below water; life on land; peace, justice and strong institutions; partnerships for the goals. Partnerships for the goals, very important. All of us have to unite together to getting this achieved, to getting fulfilled these achievements. Now, among these goals, goal number 4, that is quality education, has been a real challenge during this COVID-19 pandemic. 91, this is very astonishing figure, 91% of students worldwide were out of schools, 91% out of schools. During this COVID-19 pandemic, there is almost 1.6 billion out of schools and colleges. 369 million who relied on school meals. In India, we have got the midday meals. 369 million who relied on school meals. they were affected adversely. 2030 was already a challenge for providing basic literacy skills. So many are devoid of this basic literacy, and there are 103 million youth worldwide. And among these, sorry to say, it is 60% of these girls, they are devoid of this basic literacy. Already it was a great pressure on United Nations to provide basic literacy, but this COVID-19 pandemic totally shattered goal number 4, quality education. I will not go in detail regarding the remedial measures to be taken to recover from the losses produced by COVID-19 pandemic, because we have the resource persons, we have the experts for this, who will definitely deliberate in detail, and more number of remedial measures will be from their side. Everybody is waiting to listen to these renowned professors, experts, who are always deliberating on this. And congratulations to our NGOs that they have got this COVID-19 effect on sustainable development goals. Now, actually, Commissioner Secretary, Honorable Commissioner Secretary, he was here to deliver, and there was inaugural address. We were waiting for him, but in emergency, he has to leave for Srinagar by air. But perhaps we are expecting, and he has already committed with us, that he will be deliberating the moment he will be joining, and perhaps after reaching Srinagar, he will be joining with people. And we're waiting anxiously the moment he comes here. Now, before that, I must hand over the mic to our co-pattern, Dr. Ashok Raza, for further proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a nice introduction, and welcome to the resource person and the respected participants. Now, it's time to invite the resource person to keynote speaker is Professor Herbert B. Rosana. He is full professor of peace studies at Bicol University, Philippines. Before I invite Professor Herbert, let me introduce a little bit. Professor, he's officer in charge at the Bicol University Graduate School. He's also Associate Dean of Graduate School at the Bicol University. He is former Department Chairperson, Peace and Security Studies at the same university. Besides this, he is a member of world's leading peace organizations, that is Asia Pacific Peace Research Association. He is also a member of the IPRA, very important organization, that is International Peace Research Association. And he is a leading scholar of the peace and security studies. So it's a pleasure to welcome Professor Herbert Rosana. So please, Professor Herbert, please go ahead with your presentation, please. Professor Herbert, is he around?
Thank you, Dr. Rasa, for that generous introduction. So good morning from the islands of the Philippines. And I have met Dr. Rasa several times already in some conferences. And the last time I met him was in the state of Mizoram. I saw. Okay, so, but nice meeting you again in this meeting. So respected speakers, our commissioners, and all the participants in this webinar, I'm feel honored to be able to speak to all of you. And I hope that my English is intelligible to all of you, as we have different intonations and different pronunciations. and I hope that I will be clear. But I will be speaking about peace education, which is always dear to my heart and which has been my lifelong career and work in Bicol University. And I have told Dr. Rasa that I would like to speak uh, about envisioning the future, because we are talking about the MDGs, and perhaps what we have in mind is what will be our future. Uh, I am not particularly fan of CNN, but there's a particular program in that TV network that I like to see. I always watch the program of Christian Amanpour, and he has that program wherein he always portrays some controversial issues, and then at the end of that controversial issue, he would say, "What if the world is like this? What if the world is like that?" So I think that is also what is in our mind. What is the kind of world that we want? And probably each and every one of us has a vision of what the world will be. We are persuaded by different culture, different religions, maybe different philosophies and ideas, and all of us have our different tradition. And most of you are from India, but of course, India is a very has a varied culture. So if you go to the north, you go to the middle, you go to the south, they have quite a different varying philosophies. But I always admire Hindu philosophy and also Islamic philosophy at that time, because it helps me see clearly how I stand before my fellow human being. So before we can chart our future, it is very important that first we see what is the present situation, especially at the moment in time. And I'm not going to hide my age. I'm already in my early 50s, and I have lived so much in this world, and I have seen a lot of, during our younger years, it was the Cold War. Then after that, in 1990s, the Cold War was dissolved. And then after that, we have a different world that we live now. And sometimes we see many different obstacles along the way. During my younger years, especially in our college years, it was very popular, it was very fashionable to fight about freedom, to talk about democracy. But now we see there's a different trend towards extremism. And we know the political situations, not only in our countries, but also in other countries. Like if you go to Russia, if you go to the United States, if you go to France, there's always the rise in right-wing politics. And sometimes we wonder, where is now the freedom that we have been talking about? And sometimes talking about freedom and our desired future sometimes can be dangerous nowadays. And it's not easy to be talking about it. Like, for example, in my country, we just passed a law about the so-called anti-terror law. And it is a draconian law that will penalize anybody who says anything against the government, and it can always be taken as if you are a fomenting rebellion or something like that. So things have changed quite a bit in just a few years. So in order for us to envision the future, the first thing that we need to do is we need to see the present. Where are we? Where are we now? What are we doing now? And then identify the obstacles, and then begin to strategize and think of ways how we are going to change the world. I think I'm going to cite three points that I would like to emphasize in this message. So one of the strategy, of course, is to be able to promote dialogue, because the extremism that we see today actually is the result of the failure of dialogue. So how does dialogue work? I would like to cite an example of an experience when I went to Bali, for example. That was maybe that was 5 years ago. I went to the temple. The temple is called the Merapi Temple. It is a Hindu temple. And you go up high into the mountains, and then on top of the mountain, there is a huge temple, and there are different rooms in the temple. And my guide told me that this room is for this God and this God and this God. So he said, why don't you pray, and why don't you offer something? So I said, I'm a Christian, and my religion forbids me to pray to other gods, or to do other kinds of ritual which is not sanctioned by my religion. So my guide told me, oh, see, I'll bring you to the room. There's another room reserved here. This room is reserved for the gods of the Christians and the gods of the Muslims. So I said, oh, that's unusual for a Hindu temple to have a room for Christians and Muslims. So I have no choice, but I oblige, and I offer something like a flower, or they have some prayers there. And they said, so when I left the temple, it really impressed me, and said that that even in these difficult situations, even with our ideologies, there is still room for dialogue, and to be able to understand each other and to accept each other. And I think this is what is lacking in the world today. And even in the political spectrum that we see in the world geopolitics, we see that there's always this extremism, this failure to dialogue and to talk about certain needs, or satisfying the needs of each and everyone. And I think this is the kind of thing that we need to develop in our educational system, how people can learn to dialogue with each other. The second point that I would like to raise is the issue on peace education, or education in general. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose of education? Maybe people are they want to be educated because they want to have a good job. They want to have an edge in their career. But I think the main purpose of education is to liberate the mind. That's why in the university, it's always our principle to first introduce the student to liberal education. Because in the liberal education, you study about psychology, you study about philosophy, you study humanities and languages. These are important parts of the curriculum, because these are the arts and sciences that frees the mind from obscurantism and from superstition. So people will begin to open up their mind, and then be able to explore the world around them. And that is how we free the mind, in order for the mind to be creative. And I think education should be seen as not as a one-way dialogue wherein the teacher provides the student with knowledge. In fact, as a teacher, I always tell my students that I am not I am not 100% the authority here. All of us are learning. I am just facilitating. I'm just trying to help you see the light, and all of us are helping each other to explore the world around them. And we should also allow our students to be critical, to question certain situations. And I think it's not wrong for people to ask questions. I think it's not wrong for people to be critical, because sometimes we need to be critical in order to change the situation, and in order to evoke creativity in the minds of our listener. And then third is changing the kind of mindset that we have. I think sometimes I notice the good example that I can give is, for example, when you are driving a horse cart. Sometimes you put a blinders on the eyes of the horse, so that the horse will not move right side or left side. So in a way, sometimes our ideology, our mindset, sometimes are like that. It blinds our eyes. It prevents us from seeing the other side of the other point of view of the other. So I think we have to change our mindset. So, like for example, how do we look at the glass? Maybe some people will say the glass is half empty. Then the other will say the glass is half full. So these are two descriptions of one reality, but with different mindset. The other is negative, the other is positive. And I think we must also have that kind of mindset. Um, like for example, I set, for example, one example. I hear the president of our country say that maybe some people, the criminals are, they would say that they deserve to be punished because they are irredeemable. So that's a kind of a example of a negative mindset. But if you are a humanist, you would say, I believe in the capacity of every human being to be changed and to be good, because basically people are good. And in fact, if we will explore it from the philosophical point of view, if we will ask the question, is there an existential reality to evil? Does evil really exist? I think in the scholastic philosophy, we say that evil does not really exist, because evil is a kind of depravity, meaning to say it is the absence of equality. So in order for the object to be perfect, you have to supply what is missing in that object in order for that object to be perfect. That's why I would always say that that every human being is always redeemable, because people can change, even the hardened criminals. This is the reason why that personally I oppose the death penalty, or the capital punishment of death penalty, because people have the right to live. Everyone has the right to live. Even criminals, they also have the right to be changed and to have a better life, because actually we will benefit if people change rather than killing them, because if you kill them, then it creates a resentment, it creates a cycle of violence. Whereas if we have the mindset of forgiveness and trying to reconcile with our neighbors, with other people, then it changes the world. So when our mind is when our mindset is changed, and when our mind is free, then we can begin to explore the world that we want. I know it will be a hard way to do. There will be a long ways to do it, and I hope that we can achieve that kind of thing. So, okay, so thank you very much. And I don't want to take up much of the time since the time is limited. So these are the points that I would like to point out, that in trying to envision the future, the most important thing is, first we have to see what is present, what are the obstacles, and how are we going to overcome the obstacles. And there are three strategies. One is to promote dialogue. Number two is to promote peace education. And third is changing the mindset. And I think in the things that I have said, I have already summarized the vision of the MDGs. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you, respected participants, and thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope that I have shared just a little of my thoughts to all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Dr. Malik.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you so much, Professor Herbert B. Rosana, for giving such a excellent talk and keynote address. And that was full of wisdom and the secret of the sustainable peace and development in our world. And in fact, it is the peace education and what our NGO Attitude Change International is all about. And that is the way through which we can achieve the sustainable development from local to international level. So thank you, Professor Herbert B. Rosana. Now I will invite Dr. Muhammad Tariqul Islam, Associate Professor of Government and Politics at Jahangir Nagar University in Bangladesh. So before I invite Professor Tariq, let me have a brief introduction of Professor Tariq. He is one of the prolific writers and contributor of the London School of Economics. Recently, he was a visiting research fellow at University of Oxford in 2018. Before joining the university for 7 years, he worked in United Nations Development Program Bangladesh. And he has more than 30 publications and 2 books published from the elsewhere. Dr. Islam has recently been offered postdoctoral fellowship at University of Cambridge. Congratulations, Dr. Tariq, and welcome to deliver your talk, please. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Probably you can listen to me and everyone can listen to me, I'm sure. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much for your generous introduction about me. I'm working as an academic. Not necessarily I have been kind of expert, but struggling over the year to heighten my excellence in teaching and research. And SDG, interestingly, is one my area of interest. And I'm working over the last couple of years, starting from MDGs, then SDGs. So today, I'll talk about COVID-19, a potential threat towards localizing SDGs in Bangladesh. So honorable chair of the session and moderator, of course, you deserve kind of appreciation from me for inviting me. And I'm very happy to talk, honestly speaking. Distinguished resource person, joining from different universities, learned participant. Please accept my greetings and salam. I'm truly honored to be part of this important webinar. I love to speak on SDG as an academic and as a former UN official. Again, it's my privilege to represent my university, Jahangirnagar University. So I'll try my best to wrap it up within the given time, for sure, inshallah. So without more introduction about me or other aspect, let me go straight to the critical point, because the pandemic has shown us the importance of being prepared collectively when crisis hit. Only such an approach, I believe, can deliver win-win policies for people, for planet, and for our entire prosperity. And this pandemic, to me, provides an opportunity at the same time to take a comprehensive look at the sustainability of our environment, economic, social system, and to some extent, political affairs, and the way they interact and create more resilient societies, emphasizing the proper implementation of sustainable development goals. Even to me at this stage, in this deadly pandemic, we can't deny the fact, the crisis is fact, first teaching us as a global citizen, the utmost value in being each other keepers, in working to leave no one behind. It also taught us to think through collectively instead of individualistic approach, making sure that we can stand beside the society who are exposed to serious vulnerability because of pandemic and many other issues. The 2030 agenda emphasized the need for an inclusive and localized approach where the promise to leave no one behind is embedded at the heart of the local government. Given that my topic will cover localizing SDG, particularly under the auspices of local government in our country, so I will try to create nexus between SDG localization and the impact of pandemic over it. So, there is a growing awareness, recognition, and acknowledgement by the international development community that the local sphere of development is in the best position to facilitate mobilization of local development stakeholders. So this is the reason why participatory grassroots local government is indispensable for achieving and delivering SDGs, particularly in rural Southeast Asia. Bangladesh is one of the country where localizing SDG has been the utmost priority given by the government in our country right now. So let me talk about the reason why SDG localization with the leadership of local government is not working in our country. Because, for example, a committee system, project implementation committee, grassroots political movement, or open budget discussion are not successfully employed under the auspices of local government in Bangladesh, particularly more South Asian countries. The reason why local government is struggling enough to improve access to basic services, as well as struggling to provide an effective platform for the local government to participate in the decision-making process, as well as development initiative. So again, as COVID pandemic toppled life and livelihood across the country, of course, South Asian countries, India, Pakistan, Nepal to some extent, Bangladesh is the worst victim, I would rather say. The government of Bangladesh must stress a range of multilateral solutions to ease the pandemic, while also getting back on tracking towards achieving SDGs. If the 2030 global agenda is implemented at the local level on the basis of partnership, again, I am giving priority on partnership building, inviting all the stakeholders, a massive socioeconomic and environmental and ecological development will occur. And I'm sure then it would be easy. I'd rather say it will be really difficult to achieve SDG within the stipulated time frame, 2030, but a good endeavor could be made possible with the better partnership, inviting all the stakeholders, starting from government on the top as the leader, then development partners, civil society organization, media, local NGOs. I'm happy that this college and this webinar has been supported by a number of NGOs. Basically, they are working on SDG implementation and many more development issues. This is good initiative that NGO and civil society must join their hand with academia, making sure that we can work together. We can work shoulder to shoulder, making sure that we can achieve what exactly all the Asian countries, South Asian countries is heading towards. So SDG localization plan would be I would rather say, quick yielding remedy to counteract the COVID-19 fallout with medium and long-term perspective. Even past progress, what we have seen in promoting the decent work, it is related to SDG 8, increasing access to quality health, care related to SDG 3, and ensuring internet access for school and work, SDG 9. This is essentially important in the midst of pandemic because all the academia are stuck at home. This is the reason why we are fully counting on ICT support to connect students to online classes something. So this sort of approach will certainly mitigate the severity of adverse impact, and we could minimize the loss because of pandemic, particularly on higher education and education everywhere. So what I have seen with my research, because I am researching on SDG local government over the last 6 years, right after coming back into academia after leaving UN services for 7 years. So I have seen that lack of coordination between the local elected representative and government functionaries may hamper localizing SDGs in coming days. Moreover, it is typically patron-client relationship in the rural structure of the country like Bangladesh, political undue influence, political corruption, lack of good governance in many aspects, technical staff also hamper the effective functioning of the local government body for the promotion of SDGs in local Bangladesh and local South Asian countries, therefore. So to me, to defend against the worst effect of pandemic, Bangladesh government and other South Asian government could prioritize action in 3 areas. First of all, protecting progress already made towards achieving SDGs. Number 2, accelerating the universal provision of quality basic services and maintaining the environmental gain of this period to reverse trend in the degradation of future and nature as well. Number third, strengthening local government, I would rather say, is perhaps the only viable solution by which the government can translate policies into inclusive development and prosperity. So again, as our world strives to deal with the challenge posed by the pandemic, we ultimately must seek to turn this crisis into an opportunity, because every crisis has a kind of positive, lessons, positive impact on the society, to rethink our attitude, to rethink our plan, to revisit our overall plan, making sure that we can take necessary action urgently to achieve. And SDG is not exceptional one. And overall, the spirit of solidarity, quick and robust action to defeat the virus that we are witnessing must be brought to bear on the implementation of the goal stipulated in the SDG framework. And what is actually needed is enhanced political will on the top and commitment. That is essentially important in our country, in many more South Asian countries, because we need to bridge gap between central government and local government. We need to, promote the concept of decentralization. We need to promote the concept of delegation of authority to be entrusted with the local authority, so that, top-down approach can't be, take the, path of decision-making process, rather bottom-up approach where community consultation will take place, while articulating decision should be the foremost task of the local government, making sure that they could take decision with the desire of the local community for better implementation of SDGs in our country. So I again says our world has the knowledge, capacity, and innovation. Of course, if we are ambitious enough and we can congress the full complement of resources needed to implement the goal successfully. So with the spirit of solidarity, again, I would rather say government, business community, multilateral organization, starting from UN, donor agencies, civil society, NGOs, have in the shortest possible time should come together, should join their hands, should work shoulder to shoulder with the local authorities, making sure that they could contribute, offering technical support, they could contribute, offering financial aid to, take the momentum back for execution of SDGs, because we have another, 10 years left to achieve. And I'm sure that in post-pandemic, or we have to live with pandemic, who knows how long it will continue, we never know. But we have to figure out short-term plan, mid-term plan, long-term plan, making sure that we can work together. We are contributing each other in a collective manner, leaving behind individualistic approach, rather regional cooperation on the top, global cooperation essentially important. And this is the lessons we have learned from pandemic, that we can't stand alone. So if we attach this sort of importance and urgency to the fight against poverty, hunger, climate change, and better education, then we'll be well, ahead for success in coming decade to achieve SDG. So as the world responds to the effect of this brutal pandemic and seeks to restore global prosperity, we must focus on addressing underlying factor in the context of sustainable development goal. Again, we must not and cannot relent in our own effort, even in the midst of this painful pandemic. While some of the gain of the SDG have been eroded, this should not be deflate our efforts. We can't be, demoralized, I would rather say. Rather, we should, gear up. We have to regain our confidence, particularly giving confidence to the developing countries by the donor agencies, by the development partners, starting from UN, particularly when it's handling SDG, to accelerate and deepening our collective effort. And during the decade of action to recover better, build back better. So we have 1 decade left, 10 years left. So this is the best time to think about. And I was listening to the speech given by UN Secretary General earlier, and he was talking about building a healthier, safer, fairer, and more prosperous world, avoiding future pandemic. And living with pandemic, we need to make sure that we are not alone. We are working together. We are sharing our knowledge, what exactly our resource person, very esteemed. I was very happy to listen to this, renowned scholar from Philippines. He was talking about, changing mindset. So changing mindset is essentially important to, revisit your policy, to revisit your approach to achieve SDGs. So we must remember that a critical challenge encountered in the early implementation of the MDGs, I was in UN the moment MDG was launched. I did work with China, Indonesia, Nepal to some extent. So we must remember that a critical challenge we encountered in the early of Millennium Development Goal, as opposed to the SDGs, was the initial lack of grassroots consultation and support, because it is essentially important. Because creating ownership, you have to consult with the community. That I was referring to bottom-up approach in decision-making process, leaving top-down approach. So community ownership mostly important in localizing SDGs. So local government is struggling over the decade, I know, improve administration, anticipate demand, plan and implementation. But again, there is a undue political influence, corruption, lack of technical staff, lack of knowledge, all are coming together to create hurdle achieving SDGs in our country or many more South Asian rural contexts. The same thing is happening. So absence of responsive, inclusive and participatory government are essentially, pose a serious challenge towards SDG apart from, new edition pandemic, a critical challenge. So again, I would say no single country or entry will win alone against the pandemic. A successful response and recovery will require international cooperation. Definitely, it should come from the leadership of United Nations and partnership at every level with the national government, making sure that we can work together with private sector, we can work together with NGO communities to bring them on board to figure out a possible best path out of this crisis. Perhaps I'm coming to the end of my conversation. So before I go, I will place a couple of recommendations, drawing the attention, particularly concerned authorities of the developing country. Definitely Bangladesh is one of them, and many more South Asian countries to counteract COVID without further delay. First recommendation from my perspective, the government of developing countries, Bangladesh, particularly who are severely affected by pandemic, need to figure out appropriate approach to foster dialogue with all stakeholders through local 2030 initiative and to mobilize a multi-level approach for accelerating collective effort to develop and lead their own strategies aligned with SDG in the midst of COVID pandemic. Number two, we need to think out. We need to think ahead to what extent can the local government move forward with inadequate resource, lack of delegation of authority for localization of SDGs by improving governance at grassroots level. We need to think, is it possible for local government to move ahead with inadequate resource, lack of delegation of authorities for deciding their own choice, deciding their fate, and with less improved governance? Number three, we need to rethink with our own strategy. Definitely, we have to align with the global strategy, but we need to figure out, we need to sort out, our cultural settings. Definitely that what we expect as a community, what we expect as a government, but we need to align with, it should be corresponding to the global obligation, definitely, but how to attain greater coherence and coordination of national action, as well as strong global partnership. I was deliberately telling about global partnership for regaining our confidence of the government of Bangladesh, severely affected by COVID, to resume the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. Lastly, the role of UN, again, is very important to facilitate progress to resource mobilization, particularly for the developing countries like Bangladesh, is essentially important because UN has to be very proactive. They has to be very supportive at the same time, inviting all the stakeholders at global perspective, particularly, all the donor agencies, they must come together. They must join their hands with the developing countries like Bangladesh, making sure that, developing country like Bangladesh could regain their confidence to work together to resume their SDG implementation work with full swing in the midst of pandemic or in post-pandemic. So, probably I'm happy to speak. I'm not a good speaker indeed, but I love to speak. What I have my own experience, what I have told about my understanding throughout my research over the past 6 years. I'm currently working with the National University of Singapore on localizing SDGs. Probably it will appear in their journal. So this is a good paper. Based on this paper, I have tried to figure out the abstract and key findings of my research. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm really honored, and it was my privilege to talk this sort of great webinar, and hope to contribute more in coming days ahead. And we'll be happy to join if this sort of opportunity is entrusted with me in coming days. Thank you so much, honorable moderator. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Tariqul Islam, for delivering such an interesting talk and raising the valid points. And one point you raised, that how unless the communities they take the ownership of the SDGs, it is not possible to achieve these goals. So it was a wonderful talk which connected us the Kofi Annan's Millennium Development Goals from 2000 to 2015, and then the Ban Ki-moon's leadership, who gave 17 sustainable goals, and which in turn were based on the vision of the Agenda of Peace by Boutros Ghali, the then Secretary General of the United Nations in late 90s. So now I will hand over the mic to the another worthy moderator, Dr. Paramasivan.
Thank you, sir. I'm really very much happy to be here. I would like to welcome Dr. Dalilir. She is a very good friend of mine. She is working as an associate professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Technology, Mara. She is working in that university more than 17 years. And before that, she is a legal practitioner. And she read that law at University of London and obtained her LLB in honors. After that, completed her doctorate in legal practice. She obtained her master in law from University of Malaya, and later he received her PhD in law from the University of the International Islam University, Malaysia. Her PhD research was on family law, focusing on domestic violence and protection towards women and children. Her research area was currently funded by the internal university grants. She also supervised postgraduate students in the area of child marriage and consumer law. She has presented a number of papers in national and international level also. Number of more than 3 books. In that, one main book was awarded in the National Book Award 2019. The title is The Law of Domestic Violence in Malaysia. It was awarded in the National Book Award 2019 as the best book in social science category for higher education institution in Malaysia. And she received the Best Researcher Award by our East, which was organized in 2018. I'm really very happy to welcome you, ma'am, for this international webinar. It's your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Paramasivam. Thank you for the nice introduction, and good afternoon, everyone from Malaysia. We are having a different time zone here, so we are in the afternoon here. Before I start, I would like to please allow me to share my screen. I can't share because I think
you can share screen at your end, please.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still having a bit of a problem. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Dr. Pramasivan, please help.
Yes, sir. Madam can share now.
Her mic is, I think, muted.
Madam, you can share now, ma'am.
Is she online?
Share what? Share what? Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Now it is visible.
Yeah, is it visible? Can whatever I'm sharing on screen?
Yeah.
Yes, madam. Visible, visible.
Yes, thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, respected speakers and all participants. Today, my topic of sharing would be on the title Sustainable Development Goals Adjusting to a New Norm. Now, my sharing today will be regarding, we are looking at the Sustainable Development Goals here and looking at how are we going to achieve these goals. We need to see how are we going to adjust to a new norm. Post-COVID-19 pandemic have actually made everyone to look into a new norm, a new lifestyle. So today my discussion will be looking into how are we to adjust to a new norm when we are women, how are we going to adjust to it in terms of education, in terms of working from home, and briefly conclusion. Now, we all can see that the COVID-19 pandemic and unprecedented global crisis, which was actually a health crisis, it has actually led to a dramatic impact on the society's well-being. This pandemic have actually been a very devastating effect on the whole world's economy, because we could see that there has been permanent closure of many businesses. Many people are being retrenched from their jobs, and some are even experiencing a salary reduction of more than 30%. And we can see that job loss is actually one of a very worst financial blow, especially on families. Why? Because many of them are making ends meet, and this is making it very difficult for families. Now, one of the effects of COVID-19 pandemic have caused a massive change to our daily lifestyle. Everyone is trying to settle into new routines, we can see. Well, I must say some have actually done a very good adjustment process. They are very comfortable with the new norm. They find it very, it's normal. That I think they are adopting to it well. But I can see there are some, many actually, not the some, many who are actually still struggling with this new norm. They are feeling fatigue, frustrated, sad, anger, grief, anxiety, and of course, pain of adjusting. Why do we say that? Because when we are allowed now to resume back to operations, businesses have opened back, schools, certain activities, sports activities have actually resumed back. It is this with certain restrictions and standard operation procedures which need to be adhered to strictly. And if these standard operation procedures are not adhered to, sanctions are imposed upon us. So this is something which people are actually finding it difficult to adjust to this new norm. Now, sustainable development goals, like you have just discussed just now, it's a call for an action by all countries, the poor, the rich, the middle income, to promote prosperity while protecting the planet. And these goals have provided a critical framework for the COVID-19 recovery. Now, what has started as a health crisis have now very quickly evolved as a global economic crisis. And this United Nations SDG, which was set in 2015, we need to achieve it by the year of 2030. And of course, there are 17 goals that we are looking at. Now, the aim of these 17 goals we can see is, of course, to secure sustainable, peaceful, prosperous, and equitable life on Earth for everyone now and in the future. And for these goals to be reached, it's not just one party taking an effort into it. This is basically a collaborative effort from everyone. Why we need to see the government, the private sector, civil society, and every human being across the world need to collaboratively work for these goals to be achieved. And achieving these goals, towards these goals, this new norm which is supposed to be practiced by society today. The question is, how are we to adjust? We have to achieve these goals, but with a new norm now, and popular strategies that are focused now. We have social distancing that we need to maintain. In Malaysia now, we have changed from social distancing to physical distancing. And of course, not forgetting our personal protective equipment. Face mask is compulsory. If we are out without a face mask, sanctions are imposed upon us. So this is another adjustment which every particularly human need to make. Face masks are not cheap actually. So these are adjustments which is putting up a toll on people, on everyone. So societies needs better policies that work to promote sustainable lifestyle, and in the process to embrace and implement the 17 SDGs, a systematic and measurable manner has to be put in place. Now, one of the important goals that I'm going to look into is, of course, pertaining to women. We can see that COVID-19 crisis have actually affected men and women in different ways. One of the very important goal, which is of course very close to me, which is goal number 5 aims, which is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Gender equality is an important goal, which is to maintain peaceful and sustainable world. Now, with many countries which was going into lockdown during COVID-19, we saw another deadly danger arose, which was a shadow pandemic growing, domestic violence, or we say violence against women. Why? Because women were being trapped in homes during lockdowns and they couldn't escape. You are trapped with your abuser in the home, and lockdown was like in Malaysia, we had it for about a few months, 2-3 months we were in lockdown. Now, women are seen to bear most of the responsibility for holding societies together, be it whether you are in the home, healthcare, we have doctors, nurses who are women at school, and also for the caring of the elderly. And this effect of COVID-19 pandemic, if it continues, it's limiting the progress of gender equality and women's rights. Now, COVID-19 has upended our lifestyle at work and at home. And what we can see that women who play a disproportionate role in responding to this virus now. Women work from home. I do that. I'm working from home. At the same time, we take care of our families. Yes. Homeschooling children. Some schools are based on homeschooling. Some goes back to school. Some days they are in school. Some days they are at home. And then at the same time, we are juggling with doing housework in between our Zoom meetings and not forgetting getting the groceries. When everyone is at home, grocery supplies tend to get, lesser quick because everyone is eating at home. So what we see is we are getting very blurred between the line of work and being at home. All right. And during lockdown, we could see that when many women were trapped at the home with the abusers, they were struggling to access to escape. Now, in Malaysia, as it is prior to COVID-19 pandemic, domestic violence has been highly prevalent. It's not that it just appeared during COVID-19, but domestic violence is an issue of a great concern. But when victims were sharing the same domestic spaces with the abusers, victims were exposed to greater risk during the lockdown period. Not just greater risk, they couldn't escape. They couldn't find ways on how they could actually escape this violence. Now, thus, this is a very important issue that we need to eliminate gender-based violence, and violence against women curtail and hinder women's progress, and it will be a major obstacle to achieve these SDG goals, as the goal that we have. And it's important I feel in order for us to achieve this goal, it's important for us to raise awareness and improve the protection against women. Now, women are also burdened with the needs related to education and childcare. Children were all asked to shift to an online and distance learning. What was happening was that as it is now, during lockdown, we had online distance learning. And as it is, it was same for everyone. Children were at home and they had their homeschool. Even as of now, post-COVID-19, there are some who are still at home. They are having days where they are at home having homeschooling. So here, women again are juggling between work and also having kids at home. And women are required to adjust to this new norm, work from home, homeschooling. And in order to enhance the role of a woman in development, I guess it is important for us to promote work-life balance by providing support to women. This can only be done if there is an emphasis on the importance of role sharing. Who plays which role and what do we do? Now, women, of course, we are always known as the multitasking. Everything is done. Hence, there is a need for us to implement education policies to include education during emergency situations. There's a need for us to develop a proper action for pedagogy where there's a method of teaching and practicing, and this is for the purpose for during the crisis time. Now, in line of this SDG goal number 4, which is on education to ensure inclusive and equitable quality of education, education policies must ensure that vulnerable children such as the poor, indigenous and special needs are not left out of this learning process. Now, what we see is in Malaysia, we have the Education Act, but there's nothing that mentions pertaining to online or anything to do with remote kind of teaching. None of these concepts has been introduced. So I guess it's about time that we need to think about how are we going to have an action plan for pedagogy where it is an education plan for during crisis times. Part of that, adjusting from home, the transition where we have to have work from home is also requiring us to quickly adopt teleconferencing platforms and online tools. Working from home can only be effective if there is a stable high-speed internet connectivity, which is something very important. Now, since work from home has been a very new norm practice, employment policies need to ensure long-term economic growth. But as much as we can say, there are some benefits that we can see we do get from working from home. Some of it is, of course, no more daily commuting. Otherwise, we are commuting day in, day out every day. Of course, there is reduction of carbon emissions. And of course, we tend to get to spend more time with our loved ones at home. Now, remote work, or we say work from home, can actually help us meet some of the goals under the UN SDG goals. One of it is reducing traffic accidents. Well, when everyone is at home, lesser cars on road, lesser chances of accidents on road. So this can ensure for us trying to achieve goal number 3, which is to ensure healthy lives that promote well-being of all ages. A part of that, we also can see remote jobs can help women excel as it helps us to eliminate all the inflexibility schedules, long hours of work, and being long commuting to work. So women have a flexibility of being at home, being with their children, and they don't have to be away from their kids. So this is a way where we can excel and achieve goal number 5, achieve gender equality and to empower all women and girls. A part of that, you can also see it helps in terms of allowing options for housing locations that are further from the office. So this can allow, because when offices are office which are further, we tend to work from home. It helps, and this can make us to achieve goal number 11, which makes cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. A part of that, companies can adopt a sustainable practice, which is less office space, low utility bills, and have less office equipment to purchase and maintain. Goal number 12 can be, in a way, it helps us to achieve goal number 12, which is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Now, as of to brief up, I could say that COVID-19 is undeniably taking a toll on the world, and this pandemic have actually caused an unimaginable devastation and hardship, and it's actually changed our way of life. And handshakes are out now, where people are greetings using different methods now. And SDG can only be achieved if the needs of everyone is received at the same time. And of course, this, like I said just now, it's a collaborative work, or it need to be coordinated by everyone, with all relevant groups need to be involved in it. And we can see that this pandemic has given us an opportunity. A part of us looking at it and just focusing on what is the negative part of the pandemic, we need to look into it. That this pandemic has actually given us an opportunity to create a better, stronger, and more sustainable, resilient, inclusive future for all of us. It is like a wake-up call for everyone. This COVID-19 pandemic may have impacted our SDG goals, but with the adoption of these goals, we have actually opened an opportunity to meet the change challenge. Like Professor Tarikul have mentioned just now, that every crisis, you have to look into it. There is something positive into it. We don't just get demoralized with looking at the negative part of it. We need to put a change, and hence this can only happen through our own action. Thank you. With that, over to you.
Yes, Professor Malik.
Thank you so much for delivering such a nice presentation and raising really valid points. Now, Dr. Paramasivan, please introduce our fourth resource person, please.
It's my duty to welcome my brother, Dr. V. Arunmurugan. He is working as a assistant professor in the Department of Commerce in the University of Pondicherry, Karaikal Camber. He has pursued his PhD in Commerce in the University of Madras and a MPhil, MCom in MBA in International Business from Pondicherry University. And he has 17 years of teaching experience, research and social outreach in University of Madras, and also Manonmayam Sundara University, Tirunelveli. And he has guiding 14 doctoral research scholars and 82 PG students. He is specialized in commerce science, like e-commerce, e-banking, logistics science, entrepreneurial science, behavioral science, business research, and he is specialized in data science, analytics like MS Excel, SPSS, and eViews Stata. He received 26 awards in his credit, 6 Best Teacher Award by Pondicherry University in the year 2010, 11, 12, 13, 18, and 19. And if I want to introduce him about, I need more than 15 minutes. So
we can start directly.
Is only, and he is a very good writer also. He is an inspirational speaker, scientific researcher. I'm really very much happy to welcome you, sir. And he has received the Best Researcher Award from East last year, 2020 January. I'm really very happy to invite you for this interesting webinar, sir. The mic to you.
Thank you, Dr. Paramasivam, and thanks to all the patrons and co-patrons of the international webinar. Welcome to the entire world. We will go with my presentation, like it's almost like 54 and we have given 12:10. Hope I'll complete in my time. So I request Dr. Paramasivam, hope it is audible and viewable. So please share the PPT whereby I can go for presenting. Dr.
Okay,
Paramasivam. Yeah. So maybe before he starts presenting, I think I request the participants to pin the presentation, because I am not going to present. It is going to be presented by the organizer, Dr. Paramasivam, who is a co-patron. So you can pin the presentation whereby we can discuss on the next 15 to 20 minutes. It's 11:55 now. I will complete by 12:15, but I complete by 12:15. Is it viewable?
so is it visible for you, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, it's visible. I think the audience has to confirm.
Yes.
Maybe you can go for a full screen. You can go for a full screen, Paramasivam. You can go for a full screen. It's in the bottom, slideshow. It's just 14 slides of my ideas. Thank you. Thank you, Paramasivam, and thank you all the patrons. The most important thing which I want to tell you is that I have coined my presentation as 3 E's of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in COVID-19 pandemic scenario. So if you look into that, from the morning, all the 3 delegates from different countries and the patron and the co-patrons are focusing that Sustainable Development Goals are 17. And these 17 goals to transform our entire world. That's an aspect. And we have a target like 2030. But ultimately, all these 17 goals can be achievable when you have what you call as these 3 E's, which I have culminated. Moving on to my next slide. Paramasivam, I think you can help me out. So when you go to the preamble of my presentation, like the first part, we are going to discuss on world and COVID-19. And the second part, we are going to discuss on 3 E's of UN SDGs. And the third part, we are going to discuss on 3 E's of UN SDGs and COVID-19. What are the challenges are there, and how far these UN, the Sustainable Development Goals are supposed to be slightly redefined based on the COVID-19 pandemic scenario of last 6 months. Moving on to my next slide. So if we look into the world versus COVID-19 pandemic scenario, it is not only in India, it is not only in Philippines, it is not only in Malaysia. It is almost like it's a global pandemic. And if you compare the world versus India, ultimately we have gone to lockdowns 1.0 to 5.0, which has brought down an economic lockdown, global economic lockdown. That global economic lockdown has brought the social lockdown also. So looking into that dimension, moving on to my next slide, if you look India versus COVID-19 pandemic scenario to the international arena, there are lockdowns like lockdown 1. Our government and ourselves, we are focusing more on the hygiene. And the lockdown 2.0, we were focusing on food and hygiene. Lockdown 3.0, we were more focused on food, health, and hygiene. And lockdown 4.0, we were more focused on not only on food, health, and hygiene, we were more focused on livelihood. That is where the government were forced to go for unlocking phase. And whenever we look into life is more important, we do understand. But when we go for a livelihood, that earning, the support, so we have moved on to unlock phase 1, 2, and 3. Probably in some position we call it as lockdown 6.0, lockdown 7.0. That lockdown 6.0, 7.0 is exclusively, is it clear? I think my voice is clear. Yeah. So it is containment zones and educational institution. As such, we are totally locked. That is why we have gone to the, what you call it as unlocking phase. And people mobility and public transport is what normally goes on the lockdown till today. That is where we are focused on. Moving on to my next slide, looking into the implications in individuals' life. If you look into that, just now my previous speaker from Malaysia was talking about that lot of implications in the economy, but there is a, I have increased the volume, implications in individual life. So psychological fear of life and living is there. Whether we live, whether our life will be there. That is what even the close relatives are getting moved away from COVID-19. Complete standstill has happened. Stay at home. That is where we are looking in. Personal hygiene and healthcare is going on. And we are wearing the mask and social distancing is maintained. And still WHO is saying that It is not that only people above 50 years are getting affected. Even youngsters are prone to be as systematic. I mean, what do you call it as like the system is, I mean, the symptoms, asymptomatic patients are there. And we have moved to work from home. We have moved to work from home. Loss of employment is happening. Even though you have a, what do you call a job, salary cut is happening. Increasing in price of commodities. We know that over the night things are increasing, and especially petrol and diesel prices. Online schooling and education has started. That is why our college, degree college from Jammu and Kashmir, has moved to the international arena with what you call it as the online schooling and education and programs. And based on that, what is happening is spending in technology is increasing every day, and the increasing in spending and livelihood is moving in such a way, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, if every participant is done, yeah, we'll move on to the next slide. And if you look into the somebody is talking in between. Anything? Can I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So 3 E's of UN SDGs. This is what I mean to say. There is UN SDG, what you call as the goal number 4, which talks about quality education, which I termed as the first E. It is education. And the UN SDG, the goal number 8, which talks about decent work and economic growth. So which I mean to say employment for individual. And the goal 9, which focuses on industry, innovation and infrastructure, which I mean to say entrepreneurship. So in my opinion, the entire 17 goals, if you focus or if we focus, people as a first speaker or a second speaker said, like people have to take it. We have to take it as an individually. When you want to take it as an individually, these 3 E's, education, employment and entrepreneurship should go in a better way. When we look into that, then it can be. Let me move on to education first. If you look on to education, if you look in the world and India, totally their focus is more on equality, equitable education, equitable quality, and lifelong learning. So all those things are there. But when you look into the statistics, the globally literacy rate is 86.2%, but 63.67 million children remaining out of school. That is what the previous speaker also was saying. If you look into India, the adults are literate 74%, and in rural areas only 68%. Disabled people are only 55%. And look into the children. So enrollment of girls in primary education is 100%. But when it comes to higher education, just 1/4, 25% is only going for it. And if you look into all the statistics, 92% of the female or youth are literate, 94% of the male, still women has to make. And if you look into the GER, gross enrollment in higher education is just 1/4 of the entire population. That is only 25%. So primary education is there. When we look into the higher education, why it is not happening, that we need to think of before 2030. When you look into that, moving on to my next slide, what is the challenge as far as the first E called as education? So we need to bring education for all, not only for primary education, 100%. We need to bring that into higher education also. And our UN concentrates on quality education. But my humble request is that beyond quality education, affordable education is the need of the hour. Today, because of COVID-19 scenario, many have lost their earnings. So, and many rural people has to go for affordability of education. So our focus on education in this goal should more on affordability of education. Moving on to my next, what do you call it as the E, which is called as employment. When you look into the world and India, if you compare, 172 million people are unemployed. And we know what is happening in India also. 70 million young men and women among that. So if you compare to India, the labor force is 510 million and 12.8 million enter into the job market every day. And only 20.7% of employed are employed in that. And if you look into other statistics, the unemployment rate, today we call it 6.9%, but it's huge. So unemployment, people are losing their jobs, even a normal job. Why we are talking about are we really getting it? It is not. Everybody is, even today, teachers who are with PhDs, because of this pandemic scenario, they have gone to agriculture, they have gone back to selling of vegetables, selling of fruits, So such kind of situation is prevailing. The labor, and more important here is that, moving on to my next slide, the challenge which COVID-19 focused on employment is that, moving on to the next slide, brother. So employment to all, that is what more needed. So employment to all, is it possible? That is why UN has focused on decent work. When you focused on the decent work, but in my opinion, beyond the decent work, a skilled manpower is necessary. We should redefine ourselves that we should bring skilled manpower. Like 5 more minutes to go, I will go on to the third E, which I want to focus. Next slide, please. That is entrepreneurship. Next slide. Yeah. So when we look into the entrepreneurship, you can see that 14.2% of the world's workforce are employed in all these. Before, please. So all these. Previous slide, dear. Previous slide. Don't be hurry. One more. Yeah, okay. So when we look into the entrepreneurship, that most of the people are in a position, having a mindset, it's okay, please, yeah, thank you. So having a mindset to do business, but what is happening is that whether we are able to do business in countries of underdeveloped nations, which we need to go ahead with it. Moving on to my next slide, whenever we talk about the entrepreneurship, we normally focus on innovation. Our goal is focusing on innovation. Next slide, please. Innovation. And the other thing is that ease of doing business. So most we concentrate on ease of doing business. But what is my opinion is that innovation is there. Every human brain comes out with scientific technologies and indigenous innovation. But what is happening? Ease of doing business. Only some countries are doing it. But most important is that startup finance. Maybe IMF, World Bank, and the UN has to join together and make sure that the startup finance is given to an entrepreneurial aspirant, entrepreneurial youth, whereby the goal can be achieved. Moving on to my final point of discussion, the next final slide, please. UN SDGs versus COVID-19. Previous slide, brother. So 3 E's if you look forward. Yeah, 3 E's if you look forward. What is way forward? As I told you, that education, my first E, employment, the second E, the entrepreneurship, the third E, which if UN concentrates for the next 10 years, 2020 to 2030, and the all other remaining 14 the goals, SDGs, will be achievable, only achievable, if we concentrate on these 3 E's. But what is required? Because of COVID-19 pandemic scenario, in the post-COVID, still we are in COVID, maybe in the post-COVID, UN SDGs should change their focus. Goals are very clearly defined, as the previous speakers are saying. My humble request from India is that the focus has to be changed. What kind of focus? When it comes to education, affordable education, everybody, anybody who is very economically poor, the rural youth has to be given higher education, not only basic school education, but higher education for their prospects living. When it comes to employment, it is our responsibility to upskill the manpower. That skilled manpower is required, which the focus has to be given. When it comes to entrepreneurship, every individual is enterprising. Every individual is having innovative ideas. And even some governments are giving a very clear ease of doing business. In India also we have given Mudra and all those, but still startup finance, we are giving finance only to those people who are successful in entrepreneurship. But startup finance is what is required. Entrepreneurial startup finance. So affordable education, skilled manpower with employment, and entrepreneurial startup finance. If this focus is changed, if these 3 is changed, then ultimately all the 17 UN sustainable development goals can be achievable. Last slide, please. So thanks a lot for giving this opportunity. And I'm so happy to be back from India, to represent India in the international level with other presenters from Philippines, Malaysia, and other parts of the world. And especially I thank Dr. Paramasivam, who is my good brother, and who has given me this opportunity, and the patron of Degree College, as well as the co-patron, sir, for giving this wonderful opportunity to put forth my idea for the global arena to look in the 3 E's, affordable education, skilled employment, and entrepreneurial startup finance. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you for the audience for your patient listen.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a nice presentation. Actually, we have learned the 5 P's when the people, they are opportunity for the peaceful and prosperous planet, but you have given us a new, we can say, vision, the 3 E's of the UN SDGs. And now I will hand over the mics to the principal of Government Degree College, Darhal, Professor Somnesh Jasrutia. Please. Professor, unmute please. Dr. Paramasivan. Dr. Paramasivan, can you unmute him please? Sir, can you unmute him?
Sir?
Hello. Dr. Ashok, I am audible.
Yeah.
Hello. I am audible, Dr. Ashok.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. You can talk.
Dr. Sevan is proposed to one Commissioner Secretary. Hello, Dr. Ashok, audible? Hello. Hello.
Sir, you are audible, sir. Please.
Please provide screen to Honorable Commissioner Secretary. Hello.
Sir, ask
Hello.
our secretary to unmute, sir, because we didn't do anything here. We tried to unmute him himself.
Hello.
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 Sir, principal,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah. Honorable sir, please unmute. Hello. Hello.
Sir, you are audible, sir. Please continue, sir.
Dr. Ashok, wait a minute, please. Dr. Ashok, I'm not able to connect. Hello. Welcome, sir, please. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, a very good afternoon. I'm sorry, I was traveling from Jammu to Srinagar and I could not join in time. So I welcome the participants of today's very precious meeting. It's one of the very relevant meetings for us to debate because Sustainable Development Goals happens to be now one of the indicators in the new education policy. And all education institutions will be pursuing those goals, what department and the education institutions, we should be pursuing all the goals, rather all the 17 goals and all those targets. 365, I believe there are 365 targets and there are many other parameters which we need to monitor. So the main, with the goal, the direct goal which is being pursued by the education is quality education. Sustainable goal number 4. So sustainable goal number 4 would be our focus area for as per the new education policy also, and it happens to be one of the cornerstones how to improve our institutions. I'm very glad that recently many good initiatives have been taken in the government of Indian scenario, and we had Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbhar Bharat stresses on use of technology in education. I believe technology itself a quality enhancement of the scenario, especially in the school and higher education sector. More so, we also have been seeing that policy contains indication that vocational education needs to be integrated, and also professional services need to be given a focus attention in the, especially in higher education sector. So while we debate on these new goals and new policy matters, we will be achieving the goal of quality education, I am very sure. And so for achieving this quality education parameters, we need to have some initiatives rolled out in the higher education scenario. We must first finish the higher education, what initiative can be taken. Here we can debate on the school and other aspects of education itself. So I personally feel the use of technology in education, especially when you transform your method of teaching learning process from the traditional mode of lecturing into the e-content delivery. The student is given the material well in advance with audio-visual support, and the digital platform is available in the class, and also cloud is available for students to latch onto the LMS. What the LMS will be floated by the college or in higher education will be having LMS. So those LMS will be latched by the individual students, and those students can be leveraging on the content which will be available to them. So I believe this use of technology and digital platform will be a great game changer in learning process and also in the teaching process. The teachers will be having some pre-known things with the students' quotient, and also they can use the tools in a very efficient manner to make the concepts understand. They can use simulations, the content in the form of simulation to make the experiments explainable to them. We also are looking for virtual labs to be established to deliver the your contents of the experiments, laboratory experiments. So these all combined together in a digital form will be a great help for students to learn from these outcomes. The second intervention, I'm very sure that while the students earn a degree, they should be given some credits for the skill courses to be learned. Whether a student of art stream should be allowed to learn the agricultural practices so that they can look for the good crops to be grown, and those crops will be value added for entrepreneurship. So we can say we are also practices, those crops will be value added, enterprise being inculcated to become entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So this is the second intervention I believe will be a step towards enhancing the quality education, especially in higher education sector. Then the third intervention I believe would be that we are having innovation and incubation centers being envisaged in the ecosystem of research. So this research ecosystem developed in the colleges and also in the universities, and linking those universities and colleges in the hub and spoke model, while the universities and institutions of higher learning can be mentor institutions for the colleges, and that way we can be gelling all the scenario of higher education into ecosystem which we call research ecosystem. This third intervention of research will lead to our critical thinking, and also work out for sustainable developmental goals, be it the clean water developmental goal, be it the environmental development goal. So this research intervention in the higher education institution will be helping us in achieving the equitable distribution of economic wealth. It will be also helping in protecting the environment, climate change, glaciers, and those parameters, other 17 goals being pursued by all the organizations will also drive some power from the research component of the education colleges and university taken by under this initiative of research, innovation, and extension services. So this is the third intervention. And the fourth, I believe, would be the faculty development. We have to change the teaching pedagogies. We have to also train our teachers, and we have to do the retraining, rethinking. We have to do the reskilling and you can say upskilling. Both the things, the earlier skills will not be now relevant because now we are changing the whole pedagogy of teaching and learning process. So they have to be actually retrained and reskilled to deliver this type of curriculum, which will lead us to lead our education to be the quality education what is required for the current generation. I must mention that the technology has taken over all the aspects of life, be it your transacting the mail or even video conferencing or even understanding each other's viewpoint requires a technology, and the technologies are now being upgraded to the scale that we are using artificial intelligence, machine learning, we are using data sciences, we are using deep learning, we are using augmented reality now. Augmented reality will be a good tool for our educationists to deliver their lectures in a very effective manner. So all these things have to be learned by our teachers. For this learning process, the teacher training has to be very essential and focused. So we need to train our teachers to deliver these type of changes, and the disruptive technologies I was mentioning need to be inculcated in the regular curriculum mode now. So all these changes would lead us to a level of performance and level of output from the graduates, which will be helpful for societal challenges to be met. All the societal problems can be addressed one by one and in graduation manner. So we will be focusing our education institutions for the society's benefit, for the benefit of economic models. We'll be providing our students which are very creative brains to think out of box solution, to handhold them by you can say incubating their ideas, giving them the initial IPR support or giving them the upskilling with the industry. All this help will come from the education institution. The last, what I'm firm opinion with, that we need to link these entrepreneurs. If they pick up a model, or if they pick an idea, so we'll need to link the higher institution with the funding agencies. Maybe it's an angel funding, or maybe the funding under entrepreneur development institution, or maybe funding under the regular financial institutions. So this funding will be leading our youth to become the self-reliant and also lead for growth of the country, and also a balanced mind while we educate in the colleges. But on the school and I would have link development activity changes or indulgence from our children grow well in the early formation stages of their life, and also help the mother-child duo in getting all the nutritional components while they are conceived or while they are developed inside the belly of a mother. So that mother need to be educated. The child bearing stage of the mother need to be taken care, and all the good things should be addressed, like the hemoglobin need to be at par. Her mental capacity should be kept happy, and other index should be seen, so that we inculcate all the good practices, what should be going for development of human brain while they are being conceived, or while they are being formulated, or while they are in a very formative stage. Then comes the middle ages of primary. We imagine it of keep trying and keep them on the inquisitive platform so that they keep on thinking and they keep on inquisiting and keep an inquiry for the facts of the things to be known. So that will be the middle level. Then comes the ninth and then upper middle level, you can say high school or high secondary. Then they should be trained and counseled for career planning. And while career planning is very essential for them to change, to take up their professions, some of us maybe like to become a professional like doctors, engineers, but others can be taking management jobs. And in arts is very relevant these days to find out the real essence of life and also to find the value system. And that's because we have not been able to cope up with the new changes of social and economic scenario across the globe. So these career counseling things would be also very relevant in the ages when the student comes to 9th, 10th and 11th. So we also, higher education department will be having some role to play in career counseling and planning. And finally, they must be counseled for a career which they have aptitude for. So we need to capture their aptitude. We need to see what aptitude they carry in case they have to be governed or counseled for the career to be chosen. And lastly, I'll say all the inputs which are received by the students and even with the faculty and the current scenario of COVID and many other inputs like drug abuse and other job anxieties lead to stress in the students as well as the faculty. This gives the need for us to have psychological career counseling, psychological cells, so that we can provide them the mental health being and mental well-being and counsel them when they are not finding themselves in a very high profile. They find themselves very low and they feel that they're left alone or they need some counsel or they need to discuss something very personal or something very troublesome which is bothering them. That would require us to establish the psychological cells and hand-holding cells in the colleges and as well as in the school scenario. So this is what we can do in the higher education school scenarios and lead our society through these youngsters to become the very productive individuals and a responsible citizen of India. I wish a success for this seminar, and I'll be learning from the speakers who will be debating on various issues and aspects of sustainable goals. I understand if we sustain with clean water, with clean environment, with quality education, equitable distribution of economic wealth, this will definitely lead to a better world and better globe. And we have to achieve this global sustainable goal by 2030. And we must endeavor and strategize what steps need to be taken in 1 year, then subsequent years, so that we plan in the manner and have success indicators listed. What is status today and what would be status after we indulge with these strategic interventions, and what will the achievement and where we fail and where we have to bridge the gaps. I wish all the participants a success and very thankful to the principal of Darhal, who has recently taken over, but took a very interesting scenario and discussed the point of sustainable development, which happens to be very essential for human life and also sustainable growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May especially welcome Honorable Commissioner Secretary of Education Honor. It's a great honor to have your benign presence in this international web. You are always inspiration to us. Your contribution is tremendous in the development of higher educational institutions in Jammu and Kashmir. Opening of new colleges is your utmost priority, sir. Bringing higher education at the doorstep of learners is your vision and mission. Yes, sir, it has been done in Jammu and Kashmir, keeping in view the ratio of boys and girls opting for higher education. This ratio was not favorable in case of girls, but your initiatives bringing higher education at the doorstep are preparing more number of girls to opt for higher education. Opening of new colleges followed by construction of buildings on fast-track basis are definitely changing the whole scenario of higher education in Jammu and Kashmir. Providing better infrastructure to all the higher educational institutions of Jammu and Kashmir shall definitely bring a more positive change in the academic growth. Sir, your initiatives of ICT-enabled classrooms, smart classrooms, virtual labs through IIT Mumbai, upgradation of labs, libraries, sports infrastructure, skill workshops, employment and skill enhancement courses, SWAYAM courses, online Google classrooms during COVID-19 pandemic, Manu Darpan, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and recently introduction of research in colleges has definitely made a significant change in higher education in Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, opening of Government Degree College, Darhal, where I am posted at present, is this college is at a distance about 23 kilometers from Rajouri. It's definitely a great initiative, sir. The long pending demand of residents of the area has been meted out. So you have already sanctioned 1.0 crores for preparing the prefabricated structure of that college. And also, you have sanctioned more amount, 9.244 crores for constructing a new building from locality of Darhal. And sir, with the construction of this new building, we will be able to go for starting this science team. No doubt at present we have this arts stream there, and the number of students in the very first academic year, it was almost 100, and this time we are expecting the total strength might be raised to 250. And sir, the local residents of that area, they are quite happy that a new college has been started in that area, and the old genuine demands of these people, that has been meted out. Sir, the number of students are increasing in each past academic session. No doubt the college is running only arts team, but sooner we will be going for this science team. Sir, faculty and students of the college are striving hard to make Government Degree College Darhal a better academic institution. Organizing a national quiz in mathematics, recently we have organized one, and one more we have organized in Urdu national quiz, and today we are organizing this international webinar. That it shall definitely act as a morale booster for the college students, faculty members, and the local residents of that area. A college established in 2019 shall definitely prepare for a better future. And sir, your support shall definitely be a positive factor for all of us. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for your motivational and inspirational words. Your continuous support and encouragement shall definitely make all of us to work for the better academic growth of higher education institutions in Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Samanesh Jasrotia. Honorable Sir, we had 4 resource persons. Our keynote speaker was from Philippines, Professor Herbert B. Rosana, who spoke on the peace education, how it can transform our world. Then second was Dr. Tariqul Islam from Jahangirnagar University. He's a Cambridge and Oxford fellow, and we were fortunate to have him here. And third speaker was Dr. Dalil Kaur from Malaysia, and fourth was Dr. Arul Marugan from Pondicherry University. So these 4 resource persons, they enlightened us on the different aspects of the SDGs, even starting from the Millennium Development Goal and then the agenda for the peace of the Boutros Ghali. Now, sir, we have now question and answer session, and we will take 1 or 2 questions. And one question is from Dr. Varul Lakshmi Siran to the resource person, Dr. Muhammad Tariqul Islam. And question is, what are the steps to be taken by officials in mobilizing the resources during this pandemic situation, COVID-19, so that the resources are utilized efficiently for the sustainable growth? So this is the question to Dr. Tariqul Islam. If he's around, he can reply, please.
Thank you so much. Probably I could answer in my discourse when I was articulating my talk before, but let me repeat. you rightly pointed out, because you know, in order to mobilize resource, each and every host government who are the signatory of the SDGs must have their short-term goal, mid-term goal, and long-term goal. Because you know that as long as pandemic is concerned, probably host government, I'm referring to the country like Bangladesh. Bangladesh government is doing very good job over the year, making sure that SDG should be in place. So they have articulated number of, you know, short-term, mid-term, and long-term goal. They have their own coordination cell hosted by the Office of Prime Minister, where the ex-principal secretary of the Prime Minister is taking care of coordination cell, making sure that SDG is mainstream across the level. I mean, all the ministries have their own responsibility, have their own, you know, short-term, long-term, and mid-term goal. So this is the reason why they have to have good consultation with the development partners, starting from UN, World Bank, and other development agencies, making sure that they could come and regain the confidence of the government of Bangladesh, putting, you know, resource in line with the goals set to face the challenges of pandemic, particularly, you know, as long as SDG is concerned to be implemented right now. So thank you so much. This sort of, you know, answer I made in my reflection before.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
I have another question, sir. How do you think the strategies are to be aligned with the global obligations when we are talking about mobilizing the resources? How do we?
Right. Thank you so much. Very valid and important question, because I was telling that, you know, there is a report from the Office of Secretary General of United Nations how to encounter, you know, COVID pandemic right now, making sure that SDG could be, you know, get momentum to take it forward by the host country. So in line with the global, you know, strategy already in place through UN, probably host country should revisit their own strategy that was adopted before pandemic start in our country or South Asian countries. So they have to revisit their previous strategy, making sure that it should be aligned with the contemporary, you know, the recently adopted, you know, strategy by the United Nations, and work accordingly, and inviting the global community to develop global partnership for mobilizing more resources to implement the SDG in the midst of COVID or in post-COVID pandemic arena. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any question? Professor Herbert, can you have have your say? Just a few words, please. Professor Herbert, are you around?
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just 1 or 2 words, please. Concluding words.
Concluding words. I would like to thank these organizers for this conference. And I think that if we work harder and in our fields, various fields of endeavor towards these MDGs, I think there will be a more positive outcome. And especially this COVID crisis has put us all off the ground because of the economy, and also the different ways by which the government has been responding to managing this crisis. And I think this also opens up us into a new idea that that probably during the past years we have been talking about nuclear weapons, we have been talking about all these forms of weapons of mass destructions, but here we are faced with a different kind of challenge now that can all decimate us, but it can also be a means to enhance our creativity, how we can survive and make things better and achieve the UN goal, MDG goals, despite of this crisis. And we have to do our part, each and every one of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Professor Samnesh. Professor Samnesh is around. I think now we are going. Yeah. So can you have the final words before that, Dr. Parmasivan should go for the formal word of thanks. So before that, you can have few words, or even other resource person, if they want, they can also have their say.
Can I take,
Dr. Mohammed is.
1 minute if you allow before handing over to?
Okay.
So let me give you thanks, because I'm very happy to represent my university, Jahangirannagar University. So this sort of, webinar, particularly on SDG discourse in the midst of pandemic, should be continued. I'd rather request to, think through at least one before end of this year, because, most of the countries are, rethinking to revisit their policies and strategy, how to, accelerate SDG implementation. So if you think to organize similar nature of workshop or through webinar by end of December, would be great to share what sort of experience we have, gained through our research, could be articulated before the audiences. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Professor Manish, Honorable Commission Secretary, Mr. Talat Parvez Ravila Saab is also with us. So,
Mohammed Tariqul Islam, Mohammed Tariqul Islam, I'm very thankful for you to be so passionate and enthusiastic.
Very happy to listen to you, sir.
Yeah, so I welcome your initiative, and your suggestion should be welcomed by all of us, that we want to have a continuity on these sessions, because this one session won't be sufficient for us to strategize the midterm goals or short-term, rise to the occasion now to firm up the strategy to achieve the desired indicators what we need to have sustainable goal pursued by one and all. And youngsters, especially with the higher education department, will have to, and also the youngsters and group has to lead for the society in this section. Must be having that much of imagination to come together, and we definitely will be this initiative I've been mentioning, the research labs in the colleges, and also the type of interaction we are doing on the sustainable goals. We had only one chance to meet on such platform, and this happens to be the second one. I wish that these frequency of meeting on these strategies should be seen, and they should not be only quality education we should be pursuing. We should have to pursue all the clean water or the environment goals and other equitable development and industrial growth, and all those parameters need to be equal. The safe health, hygiene, those all goals are very important and are interrelated, I believe. Every goal has bearing on the other goal. So we need to have a comprehensive strategy to tackle these all, and we have to chalk out, because there are, I believe, more than 300 indicators which need to be addressed, and we need to strategize for all of them. I take your cue, and we'll take your advice even through your mail, and in case we need more detailing on these aspects, we'll reach back to you. I'm very happy that you are initiating and offering your services in this context. I would request all other source people to just guide us, because we are yet to begin from our UT. Maybe there is good headways done at the national level. We will be having a coordinated team on our UT level, and we'll seek guidance from all of you. Thank you very much, and those short-term goals will be listed, and we'll have them discussed, comprised of technical sections. So technical section will lead us through what need to be done, and what lessons have been learned so far. So lessons can be mission goal.
Dr. Malik?
Professor Samanish, please.
Doctor, I'm really thankful to Honorable Commissioner Secretary, Mr. Talat Parvez Ravila, for providing his, your kind words shall definitely be more fruitful for all the faculty members and students of various colleges in Jammu and Kashmir. always a source of motivation for all of us. And sir, we have got 4 resource persons today in this international webinar. And Professor Herbert, he actually talked regarding this kind of world we should have now. And Dr. Tariqul Islam, he talked about sustainable goals. And then we have got Dr. Dalir, she talked regarding new norms that should be obeyed after COVID-19. And Dr. Arul Morgan, he talked about the implications in individual life. All of them, they really enriched we people, and the main target, the purpose of this webinar, that was really successful, and so many participants were there in this. Perhaps the number may be near about 300, and it was really international because so many participants from other countries, they also took part in this webinar. I'm really thankful to sir. I'm thankful to all the resource persons, and I'm particularly thankful to our Honorable Commissioner Secretary, Mr. Talat Parvez Rehla. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Dr. Shah, please.
Now, actually, for the formal vote of thanks, but before that, actually goal number 17, we are all part of that, and how we can all join hands from local to international level to have the sustainable and just world. So, in fact, personally, our small NGO is working, but we try to work together, and really it was a learning experience for us. And the vision shared by Honorable Commissioner Secretary, it is really, it's a roadmap for the new world order. So hopefully we will try to act upon by all the ways, by all the means, both formally and informally. So I will hand over the mic to Dr. Param Sivan, who is the co-patron and the moderator and one of the organizers of this webinar. So please, Dr. Param Sivan, for the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. It's great for me to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. First and foremost, we thank our special guest, Mr. Talat Parvez, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Higher Education, and Jammu and Kashmir, who came over across his busy schedule to grace this occasion. Thanks a lot, sir. And we are grateful to Professor Shumanesh, the principal of Government Degree College, Jammu and Kashmir, for his encouragement and support to organize the webinar. Thank you, sir. We express our heartfelt thanks to our resource persons from Darhal, Islam, Bangladesh, Professor Herbert from Philippines, and Dr. Talil from Malaysia, and my brother Dr. Almuram from Pondicherry. I want to thank you all for your support and encouragement to organize this webinar. And we thank the Dr. Malik, the President of Attitude Change International Jammu and Kashmir, for his support and commitment. And we thank the Government Degree College staff and our East staff. And foremost, I want to thank the participants for their support to organize the conference. We owe special gratitude to the technical staff who have worked hard to ensure the occasion become a memorable success. Thank you one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I think any word, sir, final word, or shall we close, sir? Or formally, please close, sir.
Any words from Dr.
Yes, sir, one word from Honorable Commissioner Secretary.
Parmaneshwan from Pondicherry. We are glad that you partner with our Ashfaq Saab, and he runs a small NGO. And this NGO has taken a very good noble cause, and he has been on the right track of getting the resource people and getting the college education integrated with the efforts he has initiated. I wish that we collaborate on more of the occasions, and all the resource person we can get in, and he comes with a draft action plan. I believe he should submit it to me. I will see that all the resources, whatever we can mobilize, those we put behind his effort, and those efforts should start from Darhal and spread to the entire UT and then to the national level, and also become a party to the international efforts taken by the humankind for sustaining the globe, which is the only one of a kind in the entire universe. And this is the most beautiful planet, and
The signal is not.
Yeah.
So that's from Dalili, ma'am.
Maybe some signal problem.
I think there's some signal problem. I'm not the only one who can't hear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Can I just say a few words?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much to the organizers. Thank you, Dr. Pramosivam, again for organizing a very good webinar. Really, this is something which I feel like I would agree with what Professor Tariqul Islam has said. I think this is not one thing that we have to just have it, but I think it's something that is continuous, because COVID-19, it's not an end yet. We all would feel that, we are there, but adjusting to a new norm is becoming difficult. Why? We could all see it. After lockdown, people are back to normal lifestyle. But as we say it's normal, it's not the norm that we are all practicing as what we used to do. Things are not same. We need to be very protective of what's happening around us. And in terms of education, I think this is something which we need to look at, because we could see that during the lockdown, what went on here in Malaysia was we had schools were going online, and I would see that as much as we can say things are difficult, of course we need to have high internet speed, but I could see that when things are done online, we go straight to what we need to discuss, as is what we do in schools. Schools, we have other activities involved. But like we say, accepting something which is positive is always good. So I took it into a very positive way, and I felt like new norm is something which is not easy to adjust, but it's definitely done if we all put an effort collaboratively. So thank you very much again, and with that, over to you.
Over to Malik, sir. Our commissioner is there.
Maybe, sir, are you online, sir?
yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir, please, sir. Yeah, actually, there was problem in signal, sir. Please, sir.
Okay. So I was concluding, and maybe I was saying that these all resource weapons have given us a new initiative to begin with, and we have to now strategize with the goals on short term, medium term, and the long term. And that medium term, long term goals need to be seen what good practices have been already put in place, and those practices need to be imbibed and taken from there on. We should not reinvent the wheel once more. And whatever is applicable to the UT of J&K, we should be expecting an action plan from the GDC Darhal soon. And though action plan will be then made implementable for the other colleges and those youth and the universities scenario, the university people and the university resources need to be come together and lead from the NGOs, like Ashfaq is running one, and those NGOs can come together and join hands with other such organizations who have been doing good job on the sustaining goal of the global impact. And whatever has been done so far in the Malaysia or in the Philippines or in the Bangladesh, we need to learn from the experiences and what headways have been made so far, and start from the points we can progress further and share each other's experiences for the overall global good. And this is the planet I was mentioning is the only one in the universe and the unique of a kind, and it has all the sustainable elements for the life to sustain. And and we happen to be a custodian of the life for the future generations to come. So we must conserve the natural resources. We must be adopting a strategy or planning in a way that it goes a sustainable way forward. We live our life comfortably. We make progress in science and technology. We make progress in social sciences, and also leave something for our future generations to come for. And this will be rewarded by our future generations, and they will be seeing that our forefathers happen to have a wisdom to take initiatives which will be helping each other in sustaining the beautiful planet, which has been bestowed with all the contents which are rare of a kind, and only, I can say, only one of a kind in the entire universe, which is so big and vast. And we should not do any action which will be harming and making this planet lose its essential characteristics and become detrimental to the life to sustain. So this becomes very essential for us to pursue these sustainable goals as good as we protect our lives together. Thank you very much. Thank you all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now, thank you one and all. And now I think we can conclude the session, and hope very soon we will meet in another webinar. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herbert, sir.
Thank you. Now you can close, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you to Sumnesh, sir.
Thank
And
you. Thank you,
Malik, sir.
sir.
Okay, okay, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Herbert, sir.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dr.
sir.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very
Now we
nice
can.
interaction.
Yeah. Now we can conclude the meeting, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
thank you, Ananda.
It's a wonderful experience, sir. Thank you all. Okay. Please end the meeting, please.
That's how should I leave now?
Yeah, of course, please. Yeah.